Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, uncles and aunties. Welcome back to the Mad Mechanic. On the next episode of the trip to Scotland on the 10th of May, round about to the early part of June, where we go wild camping. We're going to go fun. We're going to excitement. It's just going to be it's going to be crazy times. Anyway, I've had a few inquiries or questions about who is Freda. Who is Freda? You talk about Freda, but who is Freda? Well, Freda is my old 1930s German BMW motorcycle and sidecar. And we're going to go do some touring around Scotland on the old girl. I'm going to give you a little bit of, how can I say this, a little bit of history about the old girl. She was actually used as an armed reconnaissance unit by the German army. So she would have gone ahead of the Panzer group, the Panzer tanks, like an observation crew, and found out where the enemy were, e.g. the British and the Americans, not the French because they had their hands up somewhere else, but and the Italians were too easy, sitting in the back with the Mediterranean red wine and loads of ladies, mamma mia. Anyway, get back to the story. So she was in front of the Panzer units, finding out where the enemy were. She'd then report back, and it'd be like it's like an observation plane, like the old Fescher Storches and things like that. Anyway, so she would have had a crew of three. There would have been one, obviously, driving or riding the motorcycle. You had an observation guy in the back with a pair of binoculars. I've taken the rear seat off of Freda because obviously I don't like people on the back of it. It's a bit dramatic sometimes. She's an old girl anyway, and things like that. Then you had a guy in the sidecar with a big MG34 machine gun that lets off about 850 rounds a minute, and that was used as defence. So if they came under fire from small arms, they would just lob a few rounds off. If you've got that sort of amount of firepower coming your way, you are going to get your head down very sharpish. Anyway, back to the story. She's a 750cc flat twin boxer, typical BMW engineering. Both the cylinders stick out the side. Okay, she's a side valve, very, very old side valve with about 20 horsepower of engine. All right, and she also has a manual advance ignition, which means that you have to adjust the ignition as you ride. Okay, so as you're riding along, if you find that you need a little bit more power to get up a hill, you just advance the ignition a little bit more until it starts to what we used to call pre-detonate, pre-pinking. So you get it sounds like a can of nails at the top of the cylinders. You just retard it a little bit when you're going back down the hill. Just retard it, advance it, and you're playing with it all the time. It's fun. Now, it's a non-driven sidecar, which means the sidecar has not got a driven wheel on it. Okay, there's no brake on the sidecar. So when you're going along at 30 miles an hour, okay, and you take your hands off the steering, right, you find that it will track nice and straight. Okay. Now, when you deaccelerate, the sidecar is still doing 30 miles an hour. The bike is now deaccelerate. The whole gear will violently throw you over to the left-hand side. Now, when I first, because of the sidecar still doing 30 miles an hour, and it acts like a pendulum, so it will throw you to the left. Okay. Now, what I found was, when I first got on the road, I was going through people's gardens, I was going through hedges, I ended up in a field once on a bend because of, what's going on? So you start to learn it. The more it terrifies me, the more I like riding it. It's one of these things where it just really gets to you. Now, on a right-hand turn, if you want to go right, you need to deaccelerate a little bit, let the whole lot come down to a slow speed, and then you have to really accelerate to overcome for the sidecar speed, to overcome, and then you go around to the right. If you don't do that, what happens is 9 times out of 10, you'll just go straight. So you've got the handlebars, and it's all push handlebars. You don't put your hands on them, you sort of like push them with the palms of your hand. It's really exciting stuff. Now, the funny thing about it is, with the guy who's sitting in the sidecar, or lady, hopefully, no, with the person in the sidecar, because it's on the left-hand side of the road, like in Great Britain, or Magna Britannica, as I like to say it, we're on the left-hand side. So the person in the sidecar is in the middle of the road, okay? So all the cars and all the traffic are heading his way or her way. So they're screaming their head off because you've got big lorries coming that way. I'm laughing my pants off because they're terrified. The more it makes them terrified, the more I laugh. And it just makes me giggle. It's a fun thing to write. It's a 30-mile-an-hour job. Now, what's going to happen is we are going to end up on the Scottish 500 route. Okay, the north of Scotland, things like that. It's going to happen every now and again. Okay, so we end up on the Scottish route, and what's going to happen is you're going to get all these massive, great big guys on their GSs and their Harley Davidsons and their sports bikes, all doing 950 miles an hour around these little bends, until they come up to an old pillock on a old German motorcycle that's 80 odd years old that leaks. I mean, by the way, my mum was 80 odd and she leaked as well, so it didn't really matter, did it? But, and they're going to find me in the middle of the road and they're going, oh my God, and it's going to be fun, okay? It's going to be fun. Now, getting to the back of Harley Davidsons again, there's a little fact I'm going to give you here. Now, in 1943, when these bikes were in Italy, the Americans saw these bikes, and because they had the Harley Davidson in them days, and they had the V-twin where the both cylinders were in line of each other in front of the bike. So what actually happened was you got the airflow over the front, but the airflow on the rear used to heat up and it used to cause problems. They saw the flat boxer twins sticking out, with the cylinders sticking out into the airflow, if you're getting fast enough, right? They then took one back to America. They then produced what they call the Harley Davidson XA, which has exactly the same running gear, engine, differential, everything as the BMW. How cool is that? That's a little tiny bit of trivia that I like to throw in front of the Harley Davidson owners, and they get a little bit upset sometimes knowing that in their past there was a German manufacturer, right, that put engines and bits and pieces in their bikes. It was a very rare bike. It was only done for a very, very small amount of time, but it's a little bit of fact. Okay? Now, this old girl, when she's all kitted up ready for Scotland, she is going to weigh nearly half a ton. Okay, you've got all the bags, tents, kitchen sink, whatever, right, on the back of it. So it's a 30 miles an hour. We are going to be trundling around virtually 1,000 miles, trundling around the Highlands of Scotland, laughing. And I want you to come with me, and I want you to laugh with me. It's going to be fun, okay? It's going to be great, and we're going to have fun, okay? Now listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's giving you a little bit of factual of the bike. If you want any more information, please comment, please subscribe, press the little ring bell, make a cup of tea. I want you all sitting there when we're round Scotland drinking tea. Okay? Take care of yourself, guys and girls. Enjoy the afternoon, enjoy the day, and like I say, do it to them before they do it to us.